The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, Tablet 2. The Halls of Amenti. Deep in earth's heart lie the Halls of Amenti, far 'neath the islands of sunken Atlantis, halls of the dead and halls of the living, bathed in the fire of the infinite all. Far in a past time, lost in the space-time, the children of light looked down on the world. Seeing the children of men in their bondage, bound by the force that came from beyond. Knew they that only by freedom from bondage could man ever rise from the earth to the sun. Down they descended and created bodies, taking the semblance of men as their own. The masters of everything said after their forming, "We are they who were formed from the space dust, partaking of life from the infinite all, living in the world as children of men, like and yet unlike the children of men." Then for a dwelling place, far 'neath the earth crust, blasted great spaces they by their power, spaces apart from the children of men, surrounded them by forces and power, shielded from harm they the halls of the dead. Side by side then placed they other spaces, filled them with life and with light from above. Builded they then the halls of Amenti, that they might dwell eternally there, living with the life to eternity's end. 32 were there of the children, sons of light who had come among men, seeking to free from the bondage of darkness those who were bound by the force from beyond. Deep in the halls of life grew a flower, flaming, expanding, driving backward the night, placed in the center a ray of great potence, life-giving, light-giving, filling with power all who came near it. Placed they around it thrones, 32, places for each of the children of light, placed so that they were bathed in the radiance, filled with the life from the eternal light. There, time after time, placed they their first created bodies, so that they might be filled with the spirit of life. 100 years out of each 1,000 must the life-giving light flame forth on their bodies, quickening, awakening the spirit of life. There in the circle from eon to eon sit the great masters, living a life not known among men. There in the halls of life they lie sleeping. Free flows their soul through the bodies of men. Time after time, while their bodies lie sleeping, incarnate they in the bodies of men, teaching and guiding onward and upward, out of the darkness into the light. There in the hall of life, filled with their wisdom, known not to the races of man, living forever 'neath the cold fire of life, sit the children of light. Times there are when they awaken, come from the depths to be lights among men, infinite they among finite men. He who by progress has grown from the darkness, lifted himself from the night into light, free is he made of the halls of Amenti, free of the flower of light and of life. Guided he then by wisdom and knowledge passes from men to the master of life. There he may dwell as one with the masters, free from the bonds of the darkness of night. Seated within the flower of radiance sit the 7 lords from the space-times above us, helping and guiding through infinite wisdom the pathway through time of the children of men. Mighty and strange they, veiled with their power, silent, all-knowing, drawing the life force, different yet one with the children of men. Aye, different and yet one with the children of light. Custodians and watchers of the force of man's bondage, ready to loose when the light has been reached. First and most mighty sits the veiled presence, Lord of Lords, the infinite 9. Over the others from each cosmic cycle, weighing and watching the progress of men. Under he sit the lords of the cycles, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, each with his mission, each with his powers, guiding, directing the destiny of man. There sit they, mighty and potent, free of all time and space. Not of this world they, yet akin to it, elder brothers they, of the children of men. Judging and weighing, they with their wisdom, watching the progress of light among men. There before them was I led by the dweller, watched him blend with one from above. Then he came forth a voice saying, Great art thou, Thoth, among children of men. free henceforth of the halls of Amenti, master of life among children of men. Taste not of death except as thou wilt it. Drink thou of life to eternity's end. Henceforth forever is life, thine for the taking. Henceforth is death, and at the call of thy hand. Dwell here or leave here when thou desireth. Free is Amenti to the Son of Man. Take thou up life in what form thou desireth, child of the light that has grown among men. Choose thou thy work, for all souls must labor. Never be free from the pathway of light. One step thou hast gained on the long pathway upward. Infinite now is the mountain of light. Each step thou taketh but heightens the mountain. All of thy progress but lengthens the goal. Approach ye ever the infinite wisdom. Ever before thee recedes the goal. Free are ye made now of the halls of Amenti, to walk hand in hand with the lords of the world, one in one purpose, working together, bringers of light to the children of men. Then from his throne came one of the masters, taking my hand and leading me onward, through all the halls of the deep hidden land. Led me through the halls of Amenti, showing the mysteries that are known not to man. Through the dark passage, downward he led me into the hall where sits the dark death. Vast as space lay the great hall before me, walled by darkness, but yet filled with light. Before me arose a great throne of darkness, veiled on it, seated a figure of night. Darker than darkness sat the great figure, dark with the darkness not of the night. Before it then paused the Master, speaking the word that brings about life, saying, O Master of darkness, guide of the way from life unto life, before thee I bring a son of the morning. Touch him not ever with the power of night. Call not his flame to the darkness of night. Know him and see him, one of our brothers, lifted from darkness into the light. Release thou his flame from its bondage. Free let it flame through the darkness of night. Raised then the hand of the figure, forth came a flame that grew clear and bright, rolled back swiftly the curtain of darkness, unveiled the hall from the darkness of night. Then grew in the great space before me, flame after flame, from the veil of the night. Uncounted millions leaped they before me, some flaming forth as flowers of fire. Others there were that shed a dim radiance, glowing but faintly from out of the night. Some there were that faded swiftly, others that grew from a small spark of light, each surrounded by its dim veil of darkness, yet flaming with light that could never be quenched. Coming and going like fireflies in springtime, filled they the space with the light and with life. Then spoke a voice mighty and solemn, saying, These are the lights that are souls among men, growing and fading, existing forever, changing yet living, through death into life. When they have bloomed into flower, reached the zenith of growth in their life, swiftly then send I my veil of darkness, shrouding and changing to new forms of life, steadily upward throughout the ages, growing, expanding into yet greater flame, lighting the darkness with yet greater power, quenched yet unquenched by the veil of the night. So grows the soul of man ever upward, quenched yet unquenched by the darkness of night. I, death, come, and yet I remain not, for life eternal exists in the all. Only an obstacle, I in the pathway, quick to be conquered by the infinite light. Awaken, O flame that burns ever inward, flame forth and conquer the veil of the night. Then in the midst of the flames and the darkness grew there one that drove forth the night, flaming, expanding, ever brighter, until at last was nothing but light. Then spoke my guide, the voice of the Master, See your own soul as it grows in the light, free now forever from the Lord of the night. Forward he led me through many great spaces, filled with the mysteries of the children of light, mysteries that man may never yet know of until he too is a son of the light. Backward then he led me into the light of the hall of the light. Knelt I then before the great masters, lords of all, from the cycles above. Spoke he then with words of great power, saying, Thou hast been made free of the halls of Amenti. Choose thy work among the children of men. Then spoke I, O great Master, let me be a teacher of men, leading them onward and upward, until they too are lights among men, freed from the veil of the night that surrounds them, flaming with light that shall shine among men. Spoke to me then the voice, Go as ye will, so be it decreed. Master are ye of your destiny, free to take or reject at will. Take ye the power, take ye the wisdom, shine as a light among the children of men. Upward then led me the dweller. Dwelt I again among children of men, teaching and showing some of my wisdom, son of the light, a fire among men. Now again I tread the path downward, seeking the light in the darkness of night. Hold ye and keep ye, preserve my record. Guide shall it be to the children of men. The interpretation. The halls of Amenti are peculiar among hidden spaces of the earth, in that they are not in this octave of material vibration, but are in a fold of space set aside from all other spaces. They have a direct connection with the positive and negative polarities of the Yarkima, not translated. Their approximate location in relationship to the earth is beneath Atlantis, but one has to move out of this space fold to enter. There are various places where this can be accomplished. Sulphur Springs, Oklahoma, Mount Shasta, California, Mictlan, South America, Shambhala, Tibet, Great Pyramid, Egypt, Black Forest, Germany, Benares, India, Atlas Mountains, Africa. The far past time is the first cycle, which is fixed in past space-time, and is that particular period just after the negative descended on man and bound him in the material plane. The masters of that period, or children of light, formed their own bodies from the primal matter and imbued it with life. Though these bodies had the same outward form as man, their interior structure was different, having sense organs usable only by a double unit of consciousness, male and female. They were not bound in the negative or disorder of man, and were therefore free to accomplish things the rest of mankind could not accomplish. Whereas the physical body of Thoth had to be renewed every 50 years, the primal body required renewing only once in 100 years. It was in the first cycle that the halls of Amenti were built by the children of light who descended to this planet. By the forces they controlled, they warped space and constructed Amenti and bound it to Earth. The dimensional walls around it protected it from entry by any except the highest consciousness. The great space was subdivided into other smaller spaces, and direct concentrations of force from the Yarkima were centered in them. There were 32 of these children of light on the earth, having charge of the affairs of earth. In the halls was placed a concentration point of vital life force or spirit. Into it is poured that vital force of life which supplies the very life of the planet. When an object on earth disintegrates, the spirit which is freed is drawn to the flower of life in Amenti, to be called forth at need. It acts for earth in the same capacity as the solar plexus acts for the human body. The thrones of the children of light were so placed that they were in the full flow of spirit, which supplied their bodies as fast as they lost their own flow. Thus a body placed under it did not have to draw life directly from the source, but bathed in its radiance. The balance was fully maintained when the consciousness was away, even though it be for centuries. The life force is so strong that the reservoir of the body placed under it 400 years was so fulfilled that it would last for 1,000 years without renewal. Thus 10 years of each 100 would keep the body young and powerful. In most instances, the body was left for great periods of time, and the children of light entered the bodies of men through birth. But occasionally they came forth in their original bodies, though not often. When one has attained the third illumination, he is made free of Amenti, and can, if he desires, place his body beneath the fire of life and renew it from age to age. The seven lords are direct emanations of extensions from the seven cosmic consciousnesses beyond this. They work independent of, and yet in harmony with, this cosmic consciousness. They have control of certain forces from beyond such a negative disorder and have emanations on all inhabited planets in the cosmos. Other functions of the lords are the control of space-time, separating the four times, and the holding back of an onrush of disorder from the negative reservoir upon the flames of consciousness which have broken away from it. It is their power which draws life force into its concentration point in the flower of life and holds it there. The Lord of Lords is the emanation from the ninth cosmic cycle and holds his or its title because it is the most highly developed and farthermost extension of this I-Yod. It is the power which controls the negative in all cosmic cycles. Below him, but equal in regard to purpose and control of their own particular powers, are the lords of the other 6 cycles above us. Though not of this cosmic consciousness, they are akin to it, for all age formed forth from the same basic material, ordered disorder, and have been born from the same source, the I-Yod, the primal source of creation. Thoth was brought before the lords of Horlet, the dweller on Unal, and there watched the dweller blend with one of the lords. In other words, enter into such harmony that they became one. For him came forth a voice. The lords, not being of human form or vibration, could not speak in words. Their power was stepped down so that Thoth could hear. Later, he became able to raise his own vibration so that he could hear the silent voice of the lords. But this did not occur until he had passed certain tests. Thoth was given freedom of Amenti, or was given the key whereby that space could be opened by him at will, and having access to the flower of life, need die only when he willed. Thoth learns the laws of creation so that he can take up any form or body he desires. Following the law, he must now choose what particular work he will do. For attainment of illumination brings greater opportunity and power to work. The height to which Thoth has attained is only a foothill of the greater mountains of transcendental light toward which all cosmic consciousnesses are working. As Thoth had attained one goal, he could henceforth walk with those seeking a greater goal. It was one of the 32 children of light, not one of the lords, who conducted Thoth on his first tour of the Halls of Amenti, the places wherein the antithesis of life, which is death, reigned. This force, being somewhat akin to that which is called life, is found in the place of life. It may seem paradoxical to call death akin to life, but if we realize that it is through the action of death on the negative that life becomes freer when we can see its kinship. The Lord of Death is not one of the lords from cycles above, but is of this cosmic cycle. He has charge of the action of death force upon the negative which surrounds each spark of consciousness. That darkness, which is loss of consciousness or death, is called night, for in it the consciousness loses memory of that which has been. He is told not to touch Thoth with loss of consciousness. The Lord of Death is told to see and recognize Thoth as a son of light. Son is S-U-N. Not to be held or touched by death. The hand of the Lord of Death is raised, sending forth flame, symbolical of the light concealed in the darkness of death. Light banishes the darkness. Thoth is shown uncounted millions of flames, each a soul manifesting on this plane. The brightness or dimness of the flame show the degree of negative disorder in which they were bound. The Lord of Death tells Thoth of the mysteries of life and death, explaining how the soul incarnates in a physical body, reaches the zenith of its growth, and then passes through change to leap forth again with greater light. Death comes, but only as a temporary thing. Life itself is immortal, existing from the beginning to the end. Always in the end, life and light must conquer death and darkness. Death desires that light banish his power, for even death came forth from light. Thoth is shown his own soul as it drives out the darkness and flames forth into full light. The guide then leads Thoth into other great spaces in Amenti and elsewhere, showing him mysteries revealed only to the adepts. Among others, he was shown the inner spaces of the fourth dimension. Thoth was again brought before the lords, and by the lords who had first spoken to him was commanded to choose his work. Thoth, of his own accord, chooses to become a teacher, bringing souls from darkness into light. He is verified in his choice by the Lord and commanded to go forth and work as he has chosen. Thoth is led upward to earth, there fulfilling the choice he has made. He closes with the statement that now again he goes to Amenti, leaving man for a time. And that concludes the reading of the second tablet. Peace and blessings to you all.